All right, some infrared pictures here. I didn't take these pictures, but I see these all the time, these kind of pictures. And just a quick note here, the darker it is, the colder it is in these pictures, so you can't quite make them out. Bathrooms and tubs installations, see this all the time. I can't tell you, I must be, if not every house, it's at least every other house that I go into. I see a huge tub problem because there's no insulation behind this tub. So this is a wintertime picture. This is all the cold air coming up from behind this tub because there's no insulation around the tub itself. Very important. And it's very important to seal all the plumbing joints that go into that as well. It's a very, very common thing.
Is that sitting on an exterior wall?
Yeah, I assume this is on exterior wall. Like I said, I didn't take this, but it more than likely is on exterior wall. I've even seen though interior walls, but you get the basement flow because there's just huge gaps where they've just busted giant holes to run plumbing up through there. Big no-nos, you know. If I see this, I know what's going on behind the tub. So that's what we're trying to do. So, knee walls are a big thing again in existing. Don't see it as much in newer construction because people kind of know what's going on with those. But you have to insulate those knee walls as well. This also, I don't remember if this actually is covered later on, but soffits, you know, bathroom soffits, kitchen soffits, see them all the time, where they just become giant conduits for airflow and thermal flow through a house. They can cause big problems later on. So this is just a picture. This is actually a picture. You can see those studs I was talking about before. These lighter marks here are actually these studs in the wall here. So when I see a picture like this, I know there's very little, if any, insulation inside that knee wall because it's just letting the cold right through it. Walls adjoining the porch roof, you have to seal these points off. It's very important because that porch roof outside is completely exposed to the outside air. So it's extremely important to block that off so that air and cold air doesn't just generate right through the house because it'll enter through those openings right there and cut right through and go into little Bobby's room or whatever. And it's hard to explain why little Bobby's room is freezing cold and it's in the middle of the house. Generally, it's something like this where you've got little conduits of air that are blowing right through there. So, all right, floors between conditioned and unconditioned space. Generally, what we're talking about here is a built-in garage. A lot of times you'll see there'll be an area for air to flow in between like the pink insulation and everything. Blocking those off and filling this completely with insulation actually creates a huge difference in the upstairs from this area. So, all right, running through these quickly. This is unacceptable for insulation. I'm sure even you would consider that one unacceptable by far. But you gotta be on the lookout as a person who's watching the insulation being put in. You would have to watch out for these kind of things. Cantilevered floors it's almost the same as putting in the adjacent porch example, where you're going to create conduits of airflow, and you have to ensure that. Actually, here's a good picture. This is a cantilevered section right here. You have to make sure that is insulated very, very well. It has to be tight because otherwise you'll see these giant cold spots like you see right here. And you notice there's actually a vent going in there, so it's actually venting. You're venting all your hot air into an uncontrolled or unconditioned space there, and it's going to be causing huge problems. So, all right, air barrier penetrations. These are real easy to fix. You know, you don't even need anything special. You can just go to Home Depot and get some great stuff and seal these right up a lot of times. But they have to be done because, again, they cause huge air conduits throughout the house. This, big no-no. Do not put fiberglass along the duct shafts and everything. You can't put that stuff near the piping anyway, and it's also an ineffective air barrier like we talked about. So big no-no all around on that.
Is that because it was compressed to do that?
It was compressed, but even if it wasn't compressed, it's not an air barrier
Okay.
on
Right.
the fiberglass. So these are just some more examples of what I see all the time. You know, this is actually the bottom of the tub right here. This is also what we see all the time. You just have to, you know, if there's any plumbers or carpenters or electricians in the room, you just have to learn to, you know, if you drill a hole, you just gotta plug it. That's the easiest way. We talk to those guys all the time, and that's all you have to learn, you know. We're not telling you you can't drill through the wood, you just have to plug it after you're done, so. All right, attic hatches. These are a huge problem because everyone forgets that there should be something on top of the attic hatch. I've actually seen houses where you'll have like R60 insulation, which is like, you know, stacked way up high, and absolutely nothing in the attic hatch. So it basically reduces your whole your equivalent attic insulation to next to nothing if you don't put anything on the attic hatch. So this has to be sealed. This little wispiness you see here is actually air. It's cold air coming through the attic door. And you see, this is a great picture right here. You see on either side of this, it's relatively warm. So they've probably got decent insulation in there. But on top of the attic, there's next to nothing. So you're just giving the cold air a huge conduit to come right through there.
How are you supposed to seal drop downs?
You weather strip around it, and there actually is there's a couple of attic insulation options to just basically, the easiest and non-technical way to do it is to get some rigid insulation and make just a box that goes on top of it. And when you walk up, you push it out of the way, and when you come back down, you pull it down. But if you're not that inclined to do that, there's options where you can buy those kind of systems.
Which still requires them.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah, you think of a molded foam, hard foam cover that it's very light, pushes away,
Right,
but it drops
exactly.
down right behind you.
One caveat about those is they're so light, sometimes when you close the attic stairs, it just blows the thing right out of the way.
Yeah, the best ones they have a little piece of Velcro and you can actually Velcro those right in so that you won't have that issue. But I see this a lot, even with people who are more conscious about their energy efficiency, they just don't think of the attic hatch as a problem, so. All right, recessed lighting is a very, very common problem as well. One of the best things to use is what they call it IC rated lighting, which is the insulation contact lighting. These are a huge pain, no matter what you're doing, but the best thing to do is get the lights that are completely enclosed in them. They have a box-like structure on it, and those actually work pretty well for leakage and everything. Because I see it all the time in houses where these cause huge air leakages in the kitchen or wherever they're being used. So.
Right, so have you come across any kind of a product, during a remodel, where they don't use the IC recess? Is there anything they can use? Because there is a lot of.
If you can access them from above, one of the things we do that is pretty effective on non-IC, because it's a huge pain to just change all those out, because they can be expensive if you're doing like a renovation or whatever. One of the things we do that's worked pretty well is we actually take some rigid insulation, push it away from, push everything away from it, and basically create our own little box around them. It can be time consuming though, and you have to be able to access them from the top like that. So they can be a huge pain, no matter which way. you go.
Yeah, let me just comment that I sit in meetings with the utilities about this, and they were complaining how they got billed big numbers for people building on site, those little boxes, because it took so much time, and they were commenting how they're gonna stop paying for that because it was too expensive.
Yeah.
And I suggested somebody should start a business just mass producing those boxes. Because if you did that, it would go a lot faster, right?
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
somebody in this room could do it, just sell them by the hundreds to utility contractors.
Why? Because it's such a pain to
There was
we don't
someone
wanna do
making
it.
that, they call it a top hat or something like that. I don't know the name of the company, you might go to energyfederation.org, they've got a lot of great air sealing supplies. Top hat is the general term I've heard to describe it.
So maybe it's a bunch.
Energy what?
Energy.
Energyfederation.org.
lights also, if you read the instructions on, you can't get installation within 3 inches. of them.
Yeah, I know, I was actually about to bring that up, it's,
And I've used the box ones, but they're megabucks.
yeah, that's what I
And
was
it's
saying,
still,
it's a real trade-off.
Determined degree, so if you have a great.
Yeah, it really is, absolutely. All right, so last but not least, I just put on an example of the thermal bypass checklist. Again, it's available on the website to actually look at this in detail. Basically, what you're looking at here is what I would use and what you as the contractor would use. What we have on the website is actually a step-by-step guide that sort of breaks down what all these mean. You know, like, overall alignment throughout home, that's what we're talking about, the air barrier and the thermal barrier being aligned. Well, basically, the things we just went through, we kind of went down the list of some of the examples we talked about. So I'm looking for that wall behind the shower tub. That's one of the things it says to look for specifically on here. We didn't talk about it, but the wall behind the fireplace sometimes is an issue. So it's just going right down the list here. Cantilever floor, duct shafts, and recess lighting and whatnot. So if you have any questions, I urge you guys, especially, you know, as we're going through this transition period here in Salem and a couple of the other towns around here, give us a call if you have a specific question. We're happy to just, you know, say, hey, well, it should be this, you know, that's what we've seen in our studies.
What's your interaction with the building inspectors? Do you guys deal directly with them when there's issues, or
Generally, we don't,
do
actually.
you advise the builder or the homeowner?
Right, yeah, we, as a HERS rater, we're sort of like an energy consultant, you know, on the whole project. You know, we're not running anything. We're talking to whoever's in charge and saying, you know, if you wanna, you know, if you really wanna do this right, save yourself some headache, you wanna do it this way. You don't wanna do that? That's cool, you know, we'll come back at the end and, we'll give you the told you so kind of look. But, you know, that's generally how I think most HERS raters operate, so.
Just one comment on that is that you're gonna tell them what they should do, and then at the end of the project, you're gonna give them a HERS number. If that HERS number's not right, they don't pass inspection, they can't get occupancy permit.
That's pretty
So-
much right, depending on where it's at.
You gotta be
Yeah.
extremely careful of what you listen to, what you don't listen to, as a contractor.
Yeah,
If you give them a piece of paper and they pass it to me, to the building official, and it says it's got a grid rating of 89, and it's supposed to be 80. Okay, what are you gonna do to fix it?